Some of this is going to make its way right up into areas of green over the Tri-Cities as well, Washington and Sullivan County. So again, you look at this though, look how we take that timestamp back about 2 o'clock. It was way back towards Knoxville. It's moving very, very quickly because in the upper level of the atmosphere, we have winds over 100 miles an hour. Just amazing. And this is helping to transport all that energy very quickly through our region. But as we've been saying earlier, you reach your hand up to the sky, you pull down some clouds, for instance. That's what we're doing. We're pulling down some of the wind energy aloft down to the ground. And that sets the stage for the heavy downpours we are seeing here. Laura, if you can, I'm going to have you real quick look at some of the velocity there. We'll toss it to Laura. And let's just look at the velocity here in the red and yellow area. That if we take it back to Laurel, she can talk about that just a little bit. Laurel?
Take a look at the velocity. This is the wind speed of what we're currently seeing at the moment. And as you can see, a little bit of a radar lesson is what we're going to be giving right here. You can really start to see these storms start to roll through the area. Very, very heavy and strong winds going to be rolling through as well. And do a little bit of a meteorology lesson. So if I am at the radar currently at the site, I shoot a beam out, and as you can see, that beam gets a little bit higher in the atmosphere as you get further out. So this is what we're keeping an eye on. And as you get further out from the Morristown radar, that radar beam is going to be picking up those higher aloft winds that are moving very quickly, and that's actually how we're getting those winds down here at the surface. At the higher elevation, in the higher atmosphere, we are seeing that jet moving at least 100 miles per hour, and with that energy does get transitioned down to the surface. So that's what we're seeing here right now. And as we do take a little bit of a closer look at the radar right here, I'm going to turn this warning off real quick so we can just focus on this. So as we can see, definitely seeing the brighter colors mean that it is moving faster. The darker colors mean that it's moving a little bit slower. So as we do pinpoint a couple of these storms right here, this is about where the system is at the moment, just a little bit to the northeast of Rogersville. 63-mile-per-hour winds right there. Definitely those winds moving a little bit quicker. And as we make our way towards Kingsport, still seeing 60-mile-per-hour winds. 55 near the Tri-Cities, and Johnson City starting to see those winds pick up significantly. 48 miles per hour is what we're seeing right there. And really, that's what we're going to be seeing. Even on the west side of Morristown at the moment, starting to see those winds calm down as that really starts, as that system does start to move into our area of Morristown, seeing those winds slowly start to calm down, 11 miles per hour at the moment. But that's what we're seeing right now with the velocity. And that's, once again, how quickly those winds are moving. And as you can see, as we make our way a little bit more towards southwest Virginia, seeing those lighter colors, but that, once again, doesn't necessarily mean that they're seeing those stronger winds quite yet. That radar beam shooting a little bit higher in the sky, allowing that radar beam to pick up those higher atmospheric winds that are moving 100+ miles per hour. So as you can see right here, let's focus on that just a little bit. 107 miles per hour but in Marion. But once again, those are really picking up those higher atmospheric winds that are moving very quickly above the surface. But with that very strong energy that this system is producing overall, that energy is going to be transitioned down to the surface. So that is what we're seeing right there with wind speeds, and that's where we're going to be keeping an eye on, because with these winds, really seeing those high velocity winds before we even see that system rolling into our area. Just a quick view at the wind alerts issued across our region. High wind warnings issued across most of the region, and as you can see, even before those thunderstorms even roll through the region, might be even seeing gusts of 60 miles per hour across the region. So that's what we're focusing on mainly with these storms, is the damaging winds. And as those winds do get stronger, with all the rain that we've gotten this week as well, easily could lead to some downed trees, and that's exactly what we're seeing with a couple of the photos that we've already seen from the Washington County Emergency Management Association. But these wind alerts really starting to be real out there. We can really start to see those winds already starting to pick up across the region, and as you can see, even before those thunderstorms roll through, 60-mile-per-hour winds. And as those thunderstorms do start to roll through the region, that's when we're going to really start to see that as well, and those winds continue to pick up and maybe even hit 70 miles per hour as those thunderstorms do continue to roll through. We are going to take a look at the Buffalo Mountain camera. Let's take a closer look right there. You can see that camera wiggling significantly. It is very, you can really start to see that camera wiggle as well as starting to see those showers roll in. And as you can see there, those clouds getting pretty dark out there as well, really starting to thicken up as we head through later on. And then we're really going to start to see that rain rain as well. That's what we're really going to be focusing on over the next couple of hours. And that's mainly our focus, going to be keeping an eye on the system continuing to roll through the region. But once again, make sure you do have a couple of ways in order to get your weather alerts. Make sure you do download that WJHL weather app, and just make sure you are staying weather aware over the next couple of hours, because that's what we're mainly going to be keeping an eye on, is this system that's going to continue to roll through. But the main thing with this storm is that this has the energy to do some serious damage, and with this storm in particular, this storm can really pack a punch for our region, not just with the winds, but with the rain as well. So once again, make sure you do have a couple of ways in order to stay weather aware. Make sure you also do download that WJHL weather app. I am going to hop back to the radar at the moment. Let's hop onto Morristown, see where this system is at the moment. And as you can see, very strong thunderstorms, as well as a good amount of rain falling across southwest Virginia, as well as northeast Tennessee, slowly starting to make its way towards the Kingsport region. And that's what we're going to be keeping an eye on over the next couple of hours. Mainly that wind, as the storm does start to split just that little bit as the storm does continue to roll through the region. Mark, I'm going to head it off to you for a little bit.
The fact that we're definitely watching that front. It's making its way through the area. We've already seen some tree damage, trees down on a car, trees down on homes. That's near Maryville, and also through Blount County in Tennessee down towards Knoxville area. This is that line we're watching. And again, this will be the area where we see the most wind energy. What you're also noticing, we have lightning strikes. There are not a lot of lightning strikes on here. So this is not a huge cluster of strong thunderstorms. There are some stronger storms within this broken line. Our computer model did a really good job yesterday showing just a broken line of thunderstorms, not so much a squall line, but that line extends all the way down through the upstate. We've seen some wind damage in southwestern North Carolina as well. And again, that's that radar we're looking at. Let's go ahead and switch over to our other graphic source. And again, if you just joined us, we still have that tornado watch. We're still watching the possibility for some tornado activity, but that's slowly eroding away from west to east as this line of showers and some embedded thunderstorms will continue to make its way through the region. So you look at that radar, we've been watching some of the showers again right here, and you notice how the heavier bands of the heavier moisture showers right here into southwest Virginia from Wise to Scott County now, and some of this just now coming into Hawkins County, going to make its way over into Sullivan County as well as Scott County, and then we're also watching some heavier downpours back into areas around Cock and Greene County. So here's the radar. You see those thunderstorms we've already had move quickly right over the Tri-Cities. What's interesting today, you notice how fast it's all moving? That's because the wind energy right above the surface, at least 50 to 100 miles per hour, depending on how high you go in the atmosphere. And that's why these are really moving very, very quickly across the region. And this, again, while we're still on the air, is for this possibility as that little line comes right over the Tri-Cities. That's where we're going to find some of the best wind gusts. They're just about to come into Hawkins County. You're seeing that now around Rogersville, coming into Kingsport, and down through Greene County. That's where our best chance of the stronger wind field will be. And as we give you a closer inspection, you can see how they're all moving off towards east, northeast as well. Now, this is a look at the winds, but before we do that, I'm going to put Laurel back on the velocity, if you can, Laurel, because I want to zoom in on that same area. Let's zoom in from, say, Scott County down to Newport, and this is our velocity level. So we look at this, you got to keep in mind, we're looking from Morristown. The radar beam goes out and goes aloft. But this right here, this little area just to the E in Rogersville, a little bright colorization there, that's where we may have a click to the east of Rogersville right here, just now moving towards the south of Church Hill. You can see that as we go over this way to right in through here. See that? That's where we may get those 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts very easily. Now, if we stop putting points on here, I want to point out you're seeing Scott County 85. That does not mean you're going to have an 85-mile-per-hour wind. What that means is that radar beam, if I'm the radar, I'm going out and aloft. So now I'm tapping into some of the energy right above the ground. That's why the winds are higher here, because the radar is way down here in Morristown. So that beam goes out. You're seeing the higher winds here. But if we get a thunderstorm, which we've got a few of those now, that energy could tap into that wind aloft and pull it down to the ground. And that's why we're looking at the possibility of damaging thunderstorm winds with some of these, along with the potential of just non-thunderstorm winds as low pressure is so intense moving over our region. So we're going to zoom in closer here. Church Hill, Kingsport, down into Greene County. Let's make this from Gate City to Greenville, and it points right through there. And you can definitely see, yes, we've got that pink here at Gate City. We're not going to query that because that's where those 80-mile-an-hour winds are. And the reason being, it's farther from the radar. But let's look at areas right right around Churchill, south of there, just south of Kingsport. We'll click there in just below the Kings there. You're seeing this easily 40, maybe 50 mile per hour gusts. It's interesting here at our studio, we've already had a 55 mile per hour wind gust, and our winds right now are sustained at 40. So that's because this whole little line is now moving into the Tri-City area. So if you've been watching and saying, what wind, or you've had the wind, it's going to pick up even more. We'll get rid of the numbers here for you, because this, again, that pink colorization, some of the bright pink banding here from Greene County to Kingsport, that's where we're looking at the highest winds right now. And until that moves through, that's what everybody across the Tri-Cities could see. Easy 40 to 50, gusts to 60 miles per hour. Now, I want to slide this down. We'll take you into Southwest Virginia. We'll change our radar real quick, keep velocity on. And we're going to switch over to Jackson, Kentucky, because here in Jackson, you got to keep in mind it's to the northwest, but we're going to try and query this area. Look at the line of heavier downpours. That's where the winds are picking up as well. Wise County, just north of Kingsport. So if we change this to velocity level, you'll see that we are definitely seeing some bright banding here as well. So we're going to change that over, Laurel, to a velocity mode. And you can see from Jackson, bright green banding here going towards the radar, but nonetheless, you can see how we check some of the winds here out. Again, we'll some of the bright colorization, again, easy 40, 50, 60 mile per hour winds. So that's the line we're watching. And as we go back to the radar now and clear this out, we'll go to more of a whole News Channel 11 viewing area from Grundy stretching down to Unicoi County. And we clear that out, go back to our radar, you'll see what we're talking about, because yes, that whole line here is what we're looking at. This is the line that's been moving through Middle Tennessee. This is the line that has the highest wind potential energy with some convection or thunderstorm activity as well. And that's why we're watching this closely. That's why we're still on the air. We've had so much rain lately. We got at least an inch, inch and a half of rain in the past 36 hours. So the ground already saturated. That's why we had the possibility of some trees coming down. What's also good, you notice here, we do not have any severe thunderstorm warnings right now. So no warnings across the region, but we're definitely watching those showers, a few embedded thunderstorms. But here's what's also interesting. Look at that. Only one strike of lightning right now. So let's put this in motion, Laura. We'll put it about 45 minutes, and you can see how fast that's been moving. Here's a line right there, right there. Is that 45 minutes, Laura? Should be, right? So we're going to change this to 45 minutes. I just want to show you how fast that's been moving. Look at that. Because the winds aloft are so strong, that line has been moving very, very quickly. So in the next 30 minutes or so, it's over Bristol, if not sooner, Lebanon, and stretching into points right around the Marion area in southwest Virginia. So that's what we're looking at. If you're joining us now, you're in Scott County, Sullivan County, Hawkins County, down to Greene County. This is all going to make its way right over the Tri-Cities. So we look at our wind here. Our highest wind at our studio, again, up to 58 mile per hour now, and that came right at our studio. We've got a sustained wind at 25, so 58 mile per hour at 417. That's not long ago, and that's because that line is making its way through the area. So let's switch back to Morristown if we can, and again, you're looking at our wind velocity. So when we talk about winds, let's pause this. Current time right there. And again, from Wise stretching down to Greene County. This is the area of concern. That's where you've got the better chance of seeing the strong winds. So in that zone right there, we're going to switch this over. Before you do so, let's zoom in a little bit. Let's put Scott County and Wise in there and then go all the way down into Greene County. So give us that image there from right there. All right, so here are the heavier downpours. All right, this line is also associated with the wind, the highest wind energy. So you take that there, the heavy downpours. Now let's switch over to velocity mode. And as we do so, we're going to query Tennessee first, because you can just pick out this fine line now coming through Greene County. We'll take you down to 81 symbol right there. Look at that, easy 50, maybe 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And that's what's coming right towards the Tri-Cities. So it's on our doorstep, moving through Hawkins County now into Greene County. So you got to be prepared for that, because that will take down some trees. If they're weaker trees, we have a lot of dead trees. Some people have dead trees in their yard. That may take the dead trees down too, because we've had so much rain. Ground is saturated. So you can see how the winds are quickly shifting. Let's clear this out again, and we'll zoom on down into East Tennessee first, and we'll take you up into Southwest Virginia. Let's zoom on into Bristol and Kingsport and Johnson City. And again, you see some of the bright colorizations here as well. Southern Washington County. You're going to pick up some strong winds there back into Greene County as well. Look at that, easy 63. And again, I'm looking at 58 here at our studio. So yes, Viper radar, very accurate here. We've had a 58 mile per hour wind, and that's what this is right here. Easy 50, maybe up to 60-mile-per-hour winds. Southern Greene County into southern Washington County, parts of Unicoi County, even Carter County in on that. And then we look over Sullivan County, 40 to 50-mile-per-hour winds. And there, right here, is this fine line we're looking at right there, just east of Rogersville, stretching down into Greene County. So that's where, yes, look at this, maybe 60, 70-mile-per-hour winds. This is what we're talking about. Thank goodness I took the flag down because, yeah, you see that flag probably a little bit torn there. We've seen some strong winds. This, again, a look at Greene County here. You're seeing the rains coming down. This is that line we've talked about the past couple of days when it moves through. So that's what you're looking at Greene County. And back to the Viper radar, this is it. Let's take the numbers off real quick because I just want to give you a heads up. Kingsport, Tri-Cities, Johnson City. This line right here, and zoom in a little bit closer, show you some more communities in here, because this line, and you may have to add some cities here. Let's pull this map down just a hair so we can see Seguinsville, Bayleton. Yeah, right there. Go up a little bit. We wanted to see the state line, Tennessee, Virginia. So in this line right here, that's where the strongest wind potential will be. That's where you're looking at maybe 50 to 60-mile-per-hour winds. And once this moves through, you're pretty much on the clear. But I want to point out Bulls Gap here. Look for Bulls Gap south, just east of Morristown. That's probably 50, 60-mile-an-hour winds as well. Close to that. So that's what we're looking at there. So now let's zoom into Sullivan County. Before we take the camera tray, let's go in Sullivan County here and zoom on the way down to Sullivan. Let's look at Kingsport just to see what the winds are like. Then we're going to take the camera right there. Hello, Kyle. We're going to take the winds right here. You can definitely see as we zoom on down to Sullivan County. We got a lot of cities on there, so let's take some of those down, Laurel, just a little bit if you can. Take some of the cities down because that's a lot of cities there in the point. So we've got the little microphone in here too. We're going to try and get that. We've got a lot going on today behind the cameras. But you can see some of the wind energy here. Let's take that down, the 83. And just click where the 26 is, just southwest of that 26 sign. Right there, Church Hill, 26. There you go, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Let's take a look at the camera there. This is Bays Mountain. You're not seeing a whole lot of wind here, which is really amazing. So it may be just to the south of that. And again, these winds, not everybody going to see that, but it's a good possibility as we watch this line of showers, some embedded thunderstorms coming into our view. So that's what we're looking at here, and that's why we could see some of the winds coming down. Right here in our studio, by the way, 40-mile-per-hour wind already. So this is a look at velocity. Let's go back to the radar so you can see what we're looking at here, and then we'll come back to the velocity. This is that fine broken line. We're going to stop the map right here from Dickinson County, Scott County, into Sullivan and Hawkins County, right on down to Greene County. You see, this is my concern here, Laurel. You notice how this is kind of bowing out, and we still have a tornado watch. So let's zoom in close to this area right here because there's a little bit of a bow here. And my concern is, let's stop it right there. The concern is, as this bows kind of a backward C, this is more of a C here, but we've got a little bit of bowing going on in here. If we were to have a tornado, let's go to velocity mode, because if you do storm relative velocity, you can see this area right here is a line of the highest winds. Now let's storm relative. I don't see any signature that would indicate a possibility of rotation, but it's something we're going to have to watch. And nonetheless, look at Greene County, southern Greene County. We're talking Horse Creek and Camp Creek, the bright green banding there. Look at your wind field there. That's where, again, the wind's coming off the mountain. So we're going to click that as we look at southern and southeastern Greene County. Yeah, there's a possibility where you may be seeing 60 and 70-mile-per-hour winds. We've seen that at times down towards Camp Creek and Horse Creek, even on a sunny day. So now that we've got all this wind energy in the atmosphere, some of it comes down the mountains. So that's what you're looking there at, the possibility of strong winds, and then 50, 60 easily through Greene County. All right, so let's take this off. We'll show you the radar again. We are watching a few lightning strikes coming into play. I'm seeing some of those in Washington County here. And let's just stop that right there. Let's just watch this little curlicue in the Viper, and let's go back 30 minutes. You can actually manually do that because we're going to go back and just see how that's working. And again, not a concern right at the moment, but nonetheless, we're going to have to watch that because this is definitely going to bring some heavy amounts of rain, lightning with that as well, and that is going to make its way right into Washington County. So let's zoom in. We're going to zoom in from Kingsport to southern Greene County right now. You folks in Virginia, we have not forgot about you, but we're watching this because this has a high potential of wind, energy, and also the heavy rain, some lightning going on here. You may see a quick possibility of a spin up of a tornado. Not saying we see that right now. I did not see that on velocity, but this definitely has that potential here of producing some strong winds and very heavy rain. Let's go ahead and pause that a second, because as we do so, we're going to zoom in just to show you some of the communities that are going to be affected by that. They're coming into northwestern Washington County. So you folks just outside of Interstate 81 and Highway 81, got to watch for that back through Greene County, Tusculum, also into Chuckey. You're seeing that activity. Fall Branch, you're going to see this as well. Parts of Sulphur Springs and the Gray community. This is what you're looking at. Keep that right there. We're going to show you what we're looking here at Rogersville. And again, you're seeing this video right here. And I do want to point out that as you're looking at that, we do have the potential here of seeing some of the stronger winds. You're heading towards Rogersville right here. You see the clouds. There are showers here as well. Kind of ominous looking clouds, but nonetheless, let me see what, yeah, you're seeing some of the moisture here with those showers that are moving through. I don't see that right there, but let's go back to the radar. And as you go to the radar, they're moving towards Rogersville. So again, coming out of Johnson or Tri-City area back towards Rogersville. But you notice here how that's kind of waning away. The concern here is right in through here. Let's go into that lightning strike right there, northwestern Washington County into Greene County. Stop right there. We're going to add some counties on here. You see Fall Branch. This is also coming right over the Gray area, right along 26. It's going to move right over 26. Here's I-26. So if you're driving, this is going to be some pretty good rains. Maybe blinding rain for a short period of time, some gusty winds as well. And I'm looking here, it looks like maybe, as I'm stepping off the screen, I'm reading our winds here. We now have had a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust at our studio. It's 5:32, and that wind gust here at our studio was actually at 4:28, so not that long ago. And that's why we're watching this. This does have the potential of not only producing winds, it's going to produce very heavy rainfall. Back to our velocity just on this, then we're going to take into Southwest Virginia. Look at the velocities now. We're going to stop this. I'm going to query some of this. Let's take you back. Get some of the cities off here just for a second. You see just north of Jonesboro. We're taking some of your towns off only because I want to show you the wind energy here. So look just north of Jonesboro, probably 40, 50, 70-mile-per-hour wind gust there. We're also looking at back towards Bayleton in that fine line. You can see some of the winds. We're going to query some of the winds. Let's take you to 321 there. That sign there you can definitely see. So here come the winds. These are easy 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. Look at Johnson City camera here. This is downtown Johnson City. As we're looking at Laurel, you can push your Buffalo Mountain, but not yet. We're not going to take it yet. But this is downtown Johnson City. Yes, you see how the winds are picking up. And just looking at that, I'll tell you our winds here are already at 29 miles per hour right there. That's sustained now at 22. So again, we had a 60 mile per hour wind gust the past 5 minutes in our studio. All right, so Laura, let's go ahead and flip over to the Buffalo Mountain camera if you can, because we're going to look down from Buffalo over the Tri-Cities. And again, with these winds, not a lot. You can see it shaking a little bit here. You're also seeing that very heavy rainfall right there. That's what we're looking at. That's the rain that's going to make its way into Washington County. So back to the radar. Let's go radar mode right now. And as we take you back to the radar, you can definitely see the very heavy rains here over northeast Tennessee. That's where you're going to find the strongest rain, the heaviest rain, the strongest wind gusts as well. As switch back to the radar there. There you go. All right, let's go back to radar itself. We're going to zoom on into this area here. Let's take you here. A little concerning now. Let's take you up into area. You got a lot of towns on there, Laurel. Let's take some of the towns off because I want to show you. You're at 81 and 26 out here. See the purple? Let's check our hail parameter because you could also see some hail with this as well. And that's where you're seeing the purple here. If we see any hail, it's a possibility you could see some of that. We're not seeing hail right now. Have you got the, yeah, we've got a hail path on there, but do not see a hail, but that's a possibility. Some of the icing going on aloft in the sky. So let's go back to the radar. And as we do so, if we were to see some small hail, we've had some hail reported earlier, there you could see that maybe possibly in parts of Sullivan County as we watch that cell. Now, let's go into Southwest Virginia. All right, let's, before we take that, leave this right here low because we're going to take the camera right here at 81 and 26. And you can see this is a T-dot camera. You can see the wet pavement here. You're looking at the interchange there as we're watching the cars getting on, that truck getting on I-81 heading towards Bristol. So the traffic on the left side of your screen going towards Bristol and the right side going to Fall Branch and points towards Knoxville. So that's Interstate 81 and 26. So back to our radar, I want to take you, this is the heaviest rain by far. And one more time before we go to Southwest Virginia, let's look at the velocity again because we're just seeing 23 mile per hour gusts here at our studio. But nonetheless, you query some of this from Bristol, Sullivan County. Look at this. This is a possibility. Now, keep in mind, she's querying the data. We're still going up in the atmosphere. So I'm the radar. I go up, the beam's going up. I don't know if the 83-mile-per-hour winds are definitely hitting the ground yet, but that's aloft. So if we get some of the heavier rain, a thunderstorm forms and moves into that wind field, that's what could come down to the ground. But on average, we're looking at maybe 60, possibly 70-mile-per-hour winds across the Tri-Cities right now. Now, let's go back to reflectivity. We'll take you into Southwest Virginia, because as you look at this, let's look at the heavier rain here. Again, that's moving from Wise. We haven't forgot you folks. We just got a lot of going on here. Scott County into Wise County. Right in this strip here, right here again, heavy rainfall. We'll show you the velocities here again. And as you look at that, I want to point that out. Look at this bright banding here. What we're going to do, we're going to look at two different radars. First, we'll look at Morristown. Look at this bright banding, probably well over 80, I'm sure, as we click that just northeast of, yeah. This is because the radar beam's way out there, but it shows us the winds aloft, well up to 100 miles an hour as you're going way and up in the atmosphere. So let's change the radars here to Jackson, and we'll see what that wind field looks like, because this, again, is the wind field, and it looks like you got the Jackson radar. Is that storm relative, or is that, oh, that's velocity as well. So again, you see some of the bright colorization here from West Virginia down areas of Southwest Virginia. It's a little less wind, you notice, probably 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. And now we'll give you a whole view. I'm going to let Laurel talk about this, because if you've got wind damage, I want to see your pictures. We'd love to share those with our viewers. But keep in mind, if you get us a picture, you're going to have to send us the picture, then we'll send you a form. Laurel's going to talk all about that. While we look at the radar here, Laurel, just put the reflectivity on. They can look at that while you're also talking about that. We'll see what other updates we've got. But nonetheless, this line right here, before we take it to Laurel, that's what's moving right over the Tri-Cities. Real quick, you may want to query, Laurel, while we're on this image, what the airport's reporting a wind at. If you can look at that real quick, not there. You're going to have to go look at the actual data from the airport. But you can, not on the radar here. It's going to be, yeah. So we're looking at a line of thunderstorms. As this comes right over the Tri-City Airport, you're seeing some thunder and lightning going on there as well. This is what we're really concerned about. This is going to be it. Once this line moves through, it will calm down pretty quickly. You see the back edge of this already, Jonesville down to Morristown. So yes, you probably are seeing some sunshine, even parts of Greene County, Hawkins County, Hancock County. And this line, once it moves through, we're pretty much done. It's going to move over East Tennessee, takes the threats for severe weather out. However, we'll keep the strong gusty winds in place. So that's what we're looking at there. And I'm just looking here. Let me check our winds again, because our winds have been gusting as high as 40, 60 miles per hour here at our studio. And I'm just looking now. Yeah, we still have a 60, and that's our highest wind here at our studio, 20, our current reading. All right, Laura, go ahead and take us away on talking about the radar and current conditions there.
Thanks, Mark. Currently, right now, a new warning has been issued by the NWS, and what we're seeing right here is a severe thunderstorm warning issued for Sullivan County, as well as moving up into Washington County and Russell County of Southwest Virginia. This expires at 5:15, so for about the next 45 minutes. That's what we're seeing right there. As you can see, that yellow area in a severe thunderstorm warning at the moment. This is what we're seeing, especially with those very, very strong winds, as well as that very heavy rain as well. Not necessarily seeing a lot of lightning with this at the moment. Doesn't necessarily mean that this thunderstorm is not strong. So let me hop over here real quick and just adjust my view over here. This is the Jackson radar is what we're seeing right now. But once again, when I show the winds, this is also the same message that we've been saying the entire time with the radar. If you are the radar, it shoots a beam out, and that's what we're really going to be seeing. So as you're further away from the radar, that's really what we see when that beam gets further out. It actually shoots a little bit higher up in the atmosphere, allowing for those higher atmospheric winds to be picked up. And we're still seeing that same area that we're seeing as well, as those higher level winds continue to move very quickly at 100 miles per hour. That energy goes down to the surface, and that's really what we're going to be seeing as we take a look at the wind speeds, as we do take a look in a few minutes. But just making sure that is clear. Some of the winds a little bit inaccurate as we do take a look at the radar, and if we actually show a little bit of that as well. But just want to make clear, if I'm the radar and I shoot a beam out, as the further I get away, the higher the beam goes, and that's when it actually taps in to those higher atmospheric winds. So that's really what we're keeping an eye on there specifically. So this is the severe thunderstorm warning just issued by the National Weather Service. This is for Washington County, Virginia, as well as moving up into Russell County, Virginia, and even hitting parts of Sullivan County, as well as Sullivan County, and even just a little bit of Washington County if you're more by the Tri-Cities Airport. That's what we're seeing right there. As we do take a look a little bit closer in, you can see that very heavy rain band moving through the Tri-Cities at the moment, and that's the little storm that we're keeping an eye on right there, going to be making its way up into Bristol as well as Abingdon. As we do take a look outside right now, this is downtown Bristol, and as you can see there, very ominous clouds out there, as well as that very heavy rain. We're also going to be seeing some fairly strong winds as well, so that's what we're keeping an eye on. Now let's go back to the Morristown radar. That's what we're...
Let's talk about